I spoke about a path forward for PlayStation in my previous video. I talked about 4 things that they could do possibly, or I think 3, to pretty much get themselves in a comfortable position. Right now, they are taking a bludgeoning from Xbox. When you say it, a lot of, PlayStation players and such would come out and tell you that, you're crazy. There's just no way this could happen. And honestly, many would like to maybe downplay it. Many would like to see it from, a different perspective. But the reality is PlayStation themselves have already, they've talked about this. And I think you trying to push against PlayStation's own, message regarding where they are, financially, regarding where they are business-wise, regarding where they are innovation-wise and position-wise, is futile. You can, in the comment section, rave all you want about all of these different things back and forth, but PlayStation has made moves that has kind of kept them in a weird place. I think one of the moves they made was actually abandoning the PlayStation 4, or at least shifting away from it way too fast, because they wanted to, give you this carrot on a stick type thing. They almost forgot that majority of their player base would not need the PS5. That's kind of the catch that was there. Many of them with their PS4s could access Call of Duty. Many of them with their PS4s could access EA games, or can, I guess I shouldn't say could, can access Call of Duty, can access Epic Games' Fortnite, can access Minecraft, can access EA games. And so with this all in mind, you got to ask yourself and say, okay, what in the world are they going to do right now, having gone ahead to pretty much conclude for us right now that they are behind the competition, that they've basically put themselves in a position where, Xbox can do multi-game, subscription. They can do it for about 50% of their business. They can do console game delivery at 50%, and they can do PC game delivery at 60%. And this has put PlayStation behind. This has created a dominance for, over PlayStation, which they actually admit in this industry major shift and threats document. I think with a game like Marathon coming down the pipeline, it can help us somewhat reflect as to some of the strategies that they can implement immediately. Because Marathon is a game that Bungie is developing. And, we know that since PlayStation has taken over Bungie, it's been a very interesting transition. They've basically kind of started morphing that studio to look like one of the regular PlayStation studios, even though the studio is supposed to be, or the company is supposed to be operating independently. Yeah, whatever that means. If you're under PlayStation or under Microsoft, independent is just kind of a, in quote, independent. They still have a final say on many things. They have metrics that they can give. And apparently, Bungie was not meeting some metrics, so they took some of the staff, fused them into PlayStation, laid off some, and I've also taken some other teams and started infusing into PlayStation. They gave an official update for Marathon. They did a video. The game director talked about what the game was about, and so on and so forth. This game is going to be multi-platform. It's going to probably teach PlayStation exactly why their approach to the kind of live service game that they need is lacking. And this game, for many people are already saying this game no one is interested, and so on and so forth. I think this game is going to be fine. I think this game is going to be able to pull in a lot of people because of the capability to create this huge community. Marathon seemingly is going to get a decent start. And this is exactly where PlayStation needs to be. It's other games, though, that it's putting exclusive to PlayStation and PC. I don't know if they have that capability, seeing that there is a missing piece of the puzzle, and that is their PlayStation 4 platform. In my video, I said they needed to go back to the PlayStation 4. They need to go back to supporting that console because there are about 50 plus million players, maybe even more, that still own a PS4, that are still happy to use one. Some might say that this is going to hold back the generation. To that, I've said, this so-called talk about the generation is absolutely weird because, again, making video games have not necessarily changed too much. Adding features that are now new to, I would say graphics processing, lighting and all of that. These are new features. These are new software AI features that, AMD is bringing, even PlayStation themselves are bringing, and so on and so forth. I don't think it necessarily means that, we're going to have, say, anything that breaks off of those development principles that have always been there as games have been developed over time. So the, reversion back to a PlayStation 4, or I guess supporting the PS4, is not out of the question, seeing that even the biggest money makers are still leveraging that platform in a way that they're not going to leave it. Even Fortnite got so many more updates, right? It got more modern updates to it. but there's still a PS4 version, and that's under Unreal Engine 5, with Epic Games pretty much lavishing all of their design and development expertise on it. It didn't necessarily mean that the game could not run anymore on the PS4. It would be silly to think that. I mean, think about games like The Order 1887 that ran on the PS4 looking very good. So if Marathon does not have a PS4 pipeline right now, you're going to see that its Xbox pipeline is going to pretty much be what carries it, compared to, say, Helldivers, and compared to, say, even Fair Games, and compared to even Concord and these other games that PlayStation wants to lock away from other ecosystems. They need a game of that magnitude. Xbox, on the other hand, already has games of that magnitude, so it doesn't really need to do too much in terms of work. It can make some, live service games, and they can stay on the Xbox platform. Halo can comfortably stay on the Xbox platform, as Call of Duty carries everybody. Like, you know what I mean? If they want, Gears of War, which I think will stay on the Xbox platform. I know I've said, that I don't mind or not care if these games move to every platform, but I still recognize that, Xbox and Phil Spencer are pretty much, carrying the brand in a way where there are certain games that just remain on that platform, and you can't get them anywhere else. But again, you can get them on PC, so I don't know about anywhere else. And so again, because you have games like Call of Duty, they can actually carry a lot of these games, but it's not necessarily carrying a lot of these games. These other small games are making money. They're making money everywhere that they are. So again, it's something that PlayStation actually needs, the big scale ones, and then the small games. They're not really making too many small games here. PlayStation is in this strange place where it wants all its games to be, $200, $300, $400 million games, and everything is so shiny. But the thing about a live service game is the shiny is not necessarily exactly what is the big deal. It's understanding exactly what players want and understanding exactly how players are going to pretty much go ahead and, interact with the game that they're actually looking at. I mean, if you got to think about it, Deadlock is a game that Valve is going to be bringing very soon. It's a very interesting proposition. The game seemingly does well, but it doesn't have all those bells and whistles. Like, it really just looks like a game that is fun. So that aspect of it too is one that's missing. And I think Deadlock is really going to create a very interesting competitive stress, as well as every other game on PC, on any PlayStation game that's coming out. So again, they need the alternative side in terms of it. You can already tell that Deadlock carries kind of like, the hero shooter side. But, again, because Valve has enjoyed some of its own individual titles all this while, it knows exactly what it's doing. PlayStation is new here, so they don't really have too much risk tolerance, and they have to hedge themselves. This is why the PS4, in my opinion, comes in as a very interesting marker. They need to get a game like that going. Your game doesn't need to be, groundbreaking graphically. I mean, CSGO has been played forever as a big money maker, and the game runs on anything. It can run on a calculator if necessary. Thinking about all of this and putting it together, I think anyone can see how PlayStation, in a sense, acting like the PS4 doesn't exist is kind of weird, seeing that the, PS4 has also been making them money and been covering a lot of their losses. I've seen, and I made a video too, where an audience member was talking about how PlayStation reported that this generation has been the most profitable generation. That audience member even went to Destin's channel, because some of you recommended I go watch one of Destin's videos, and I was looking through the comment section and I saw the exact same guy. I had to go back and scroll through my comments, and this same guy was saying this exact same thing. So in looking at the article, I found out that apparently that so-called profit that PlayStation was actually citing were profits that were also coming from the PS4. Also, if you guys remember the article where, the PlayStation announced that the $499 PS4 was no longer sold at a loss, they also went ahead and said that the $399 digital edition was still being sold at a loss. And guess what was covering those losses? It was the PlayStation 4 console at the time that was actually covering the losses being made on the, $399 PS4 digital. PS5 digital. This is it right here. It says, right now, Sony says any loss made on that console, which is a $399 digital, was being offset through peripherals and continued sales of the PS4 consoles. So even when we had console availability, remember there were first no consoles for the PS5 at first, but eventually availability came into play. People still kept buying the PS4. Which is crazy because PlayStation kept making the PS4. I don't know if y'all remember at the time, they were like, oh, PlayStation is still going back into production of the PS4s. So I'm quite shocked why they're not infusing it into their ecosystem to gain the upper hand, because they're primarily a company that, basically brags and bases their business on hardware sales. Even Xbox right now, with an Xbox, One, without even a series, you can access the new generation of games, which pretty much, allows for people to be able to still take their Xbox One and subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and play games via cloud. And then also they have an entry-level system in the Xbox ecosystem that is very cheap. That's actually much cheaper than you can get yourself a PlayStation 4 in some cases. So again, if they're coming from this perspective of hardware, then they need to realize that they need to make moves that are out of the box, counter, traditional. When, we move to a new generation. So what? Everybody else is leveraging your console. Even your competitors are leveraging your consoles. Why are you then leaving, tens of millions of them in the dust? It doesn't make any sense to me anyways. Because even on PC, like if you think about it in a strategic way, you realize that even on PC, developers are not abandoning old hardware. The one game, I think it was Alan Wake 2, that dared to do that. They saw a big dip in their sales. Now, yes, they're not, they didn't come on Steam too, but, it's very funny to go back and see that a lot of developers, let me see if we can find, some of the PlayStation games that are using GTX 980 as, they're like, Marvel Spider-Man 1, I mean, even Spider-Man 2. Let me see what Spider-Man 2 is asking in terms of hardware requirements. Oh, they've not put it up yet. Let's see what Spider-Man Remastered is asking in terms of requirements. You're going to see that it's very interesting. They're using a GTX 950 on RX 470. Guys, you know how old an RX 470 is? I built my first PC back in 2016, and I used the RX 480. That's old school hardware right there. And developers on PC, like Nix's, even the PlayStation developers, are not willing to leave these hardware pieces behind. Why? Because you get money from making it. So to those that are console elitists that have made fun of PC players for using old hardware, you don't understand, or never did you understand why they were doing it. And I'm sure now you do, that if you want to sell games, you got to sell them somewhere. I mean, if Xbox is something that you don't want to touch as a, developer, then go back to your existing platform of, consoles. Imagine the Nintendo Switch abandoning the Nintendo Switch 2 after it sold 100 and something million in terms of, units. They're not going to do that. They're not going to abandon the Switch itself. Even while the Switch 2 comes out, it's going to continue to support, the Switch is going to continue to support games even over time. So these are my thoughts on the whole issue. I really appreciate you guys' time and audience about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I'm probably sure there's going to be some pushback on the thought of the PS4, but hey, it's a necessary thing, not even a necessary evil. It'd be a good thing because Sony will actually be pro-consumer for like 10 minutes, and I guess they will probably benefit from it. Sheesh. All right, I'll get out of your hair. Thanks again. Peace out.